Attention listeners across the galaxy, all the way from Australia to Houston. Do we have a pube problem? If so, our friends at Manscaped have cleared you for takeoff with their 4th generation and brand new Lawnmower 4.0. Kick your pubes to the next planet with the Performance Package 4.0. The orbits in your pants will feel like you're in zero gravity when you use the best tools for the job from the leaders in male grooming. Join the 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get your rocket ready for takeoff by going to manscaped.com/DelphinPod, DELFINPOD, for 20% off and free shipping. Don't forget, use the code DelphinPod, DELFINPOD, for 20% off and free shipping. Abort hairy balls and Buzz Lightyear that Woody with Manscaped. Welcome to another episode of Countdown to Infinity, a Marvel's Avengers podcast. And I know what you're thinking.
What am I thinking?
What's up with this schedule?
It's a bit weird.
Because you're just like, well, we'll talk about the episode, but we normally release these podcasts on the Monday after the new What If episodes.
Right.
But you're hearing it on a Thursday?
Changing it up, baby.
Changing it up? Well, that's because next week is dedicated to Shang-Chi, the new movie, the new movie that's coming out this weekend, Labor Day weekend, on track to be a really big movie in the MCU. So we are releasing our Watching What If series today. You're listening to it right now.
Right.
And we'll have 2 episodes next week with Sophia and I for a spoiler-free episode.
Right.
And then a really long spoiler-full episode with John and Andrew.
With the boys.
So next week is all Shang-Chi week, baby.
All Shang-Chi.
Hopefully you all get a chance to watch it. If not, you know, take your time.
Because you know what? I don't know if you guys know, but we are a Marvel podcast.
That we didn't say that at the top.
We did not say that. So, I mean, anything Marvel related, we're here
big times for us right now.
For sure.
But we talk
so
all
busy.
things MCU, the movies, the comic books, which I guess is not CU, but Marvel related, and then the streaming series. And we are in the middle of watching What If, and we're talking about episode 4, What If Doctor Strange loses his heart?
First, can I just ask, what's your name?
My name's Manny.
My name is Sophia.
A big what if to you. A big what if Wednesday to you. Ooh, they actually do release on Wednesdays. Why don't they do that? Why don't they do what if Wednesdays?
They do.
Oh,
it's Wednesday.
Really? No, I'm saying what if they... they need to make like a hashtag. How do you make a hashtag? Do I sound like an old man?
WWW?
Who do you email to make a hashtag?
Triple W? What would we call that? Oh, what would we call What If Wednesdays?
Wow, that's 5 W's.
Dang.
Well, this episode features Doctor Strange and, of course, all of his mythical, magical arts.
And his fingies.
And his fingies, his fingers and tentacles, huh?
What?
And there's a whole lot that happens in this. We get, actually, in terms of the entire cast, everyone really comes back.
Right. All the main faves.
All the main faves. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Stephen Strange. Rachel McAdams as Christine Palmer.
I love her.
Even Benedict Wong is back as Wong, and Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One.
Yeah.
And also Leslie Bibb plays Christine Everhart, the reporter.
The anchor,
We saw that in the trailer. I was like, where is she at? But she's the reporter, you know her from Iron Man. But the whole voice cast is back from the original film with the addition of Uatu. But this episode has a lot of things that are brand new to the MCU, brand new to Doctor Strange's storyline or variants of Doctor Strange. But Sophia, what do you think about this episode?
Brand new to us because, hot damn, this was pretty heavy. I mean, I wasn't really expecting this episode to hit me in the feels so much. But, I mean, it kind of makes you reflect on deeper things that you find within the MCU, like just the tones and just the emotional background, and like everybody's got baggage, and also everybody's dealt with some form of grief, and that's obviously going to be highlighted in this episode because of the whole Christine situation.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the main differences. And instead of Doctor Strange getting into a car accident on his own,
right, Christine's there being
Christine is there in
through
this
all of it.
universe and dies, and that is different than the MCU films that we see.
Right.
And this becomes this kind of devolves into like a really sad, messed up Groundhog Day, where Doctor Strange constantly uses the Eye of Agamotto to go back in time to try to save her.
Right.
But we are introduced into this new concept called absolute point. And that basically is something, and it was kind of messed up. It was like she keeps dying this one night too. This isn't like an avoidable thing, and it's this idea that some events cannot be changed,
undone. Yeah, because I mean,
undone.
It's going to be the point in this universe where Doctor Strange decides to go and instead of like his hands being messed up, like the storyline that we're used to go and find answers because he is struggling with grief so internally, he just decides to go into the mythical arts, and that's where we see the Doctor Strange that we know and love, and the whole 9 yards. And that's when he battles like Dormammu and he seems everybody, and he's Doctor Strange. But in this new one, he uses his new talents to go to the darker side of the magic to try to still, because he's still motivated by his grief and his loss and his love for Christine. But at a certain point, it becomes delusion because he just, for some reason, becomes so power absorbed, and he's just it's just a no go for him. Like he just out there now. Like it's just no. It's just not happening no more, bro.
I mean, it's classic to Stephen Strange before the accident to be incredibly arrogant,
right?
And it seems like he doesn't necessarily learn the same lesson when Christine dies because he still is trying to bring her back. A lot of this features him searching for the library of Cagliostro for some, hidden books, ways of using dark magic and trying to figure out what he needs to do, what powers he needs to collect to change an absolute point. Even though everyone's warned, the Ancient One fights him and warns him, if you change an absolute point, you're going to break this universe. But he still does. I'm really excited because, in this, they title him as Sorcerer Supreme, I think. But he reminds me of this really old version of Doctor Strange called Necromancer, which is all about like demons and dark magic. He even has like the same kind of costume, so I'm sure it's inspired by that. Because what did you think about that sequence where he's conjuring up all of these different creatures and absorbing their powers, starting with a small little gnome with a beard and moving all the way up to a giant squid octopus creature?
Scary ass Doctor Strange. No, I think it definitely reminded me of like an anime series.
Oh yeah.
Just because of how just incredibly animated it was. It was a totally different side of Doctor Strange, and it was really helpful for my imagination to just actually picture Benedict Cumberbatch in like all of these scenarios and like seeing how he would react and act in these sequences. But I mean, the absorption of the powers or the absorption of the other creatures was really mind-boggling. Like
visually, it was amazing to see him take the form of each creature.
Yeah, and I mean, just his reaction to him each time. Like after he swallowed like a huge ass thing, he would just be like, all right, on to the next, like just super cash about it. I'm like,
and we learn through the passage of time to the guardian of the library that he's been there for centuries.
Yes, I mean, that's
hundreds of years.
That's the one that I'm talking about. Like, there's a sequence where he's inside of this little cave, and then like the time is passing by, and then there was like this really ugly. I say ugly, but it was just visually like unsettling to see him taking these different forms, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's when you really realize that he's just gone off the deep end.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed this. This is like the nightmare version of Doctor Strange, which we explored, I guess, a little bit with the film, but Multiverse of Madness, Sam Raimi, who's directing it, who made like Evil Dead when he was really young. I think that's what I'm excited for. I mean, Scott Derrickson, the guy that directed the first one, is a horror director. He made Sinister
makes sense,
and stuff. So, I was kind of expecting that early on, but this is the stuff that's really unique to Doctor Strange is you can go into, nightmares and it's cool to see it. Even if it's in this animated form, but yeah, I'm hoping that we get some of that in live action too. That'd be That'd be pretty trippy. So it comes to a head when the Ancient One reveals that in order to save the universe, the hope was only for her to split Doctor Strange
In the original
in
confrontation.
half. Yeah. So there is another Stephen Strange, one who doesn't seek out the dark magic to bring back Christine, who is suddenly the hero, like halfway through this episode. And we get a Doctor Strange fight. A fight off.
With Doctor Strange. Yeah,
And
Doctor
even a cape
Strange
fight,
v.
which
Doctor
I thought
Strange.
was really awesome. They're different capes fighting.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this whenever we were watching it, but it reminded me a lot of when Vision was fighting Vision from WandaVision.
I think with the multiverse, we may see that
a lot.
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking, and of course, none of
we've
this
already
is
seen-
confirmed, but this Spider-Man movie is going to have 3 Spider-Men.
And then we saw Loki fighting Loki.
And Loki, I mean, there's no limit to what can happen.
No.
We saw 10 Lokis fighting each other. What did you think about the Doctor Strange off?
I thought he looked real ugly. Homeboy was real tired.
Yeah.
He needed some cucumbers on those eyes. But I also love the shadow form that we see first before we see how terrible Doctor Strange
looks. Combination of all of these creatures that he's swallowed whole.
Yes, definitely. And I thought that was really cool. And also just the way that they animated good Doctor Strange or good Strange to bad Strange, just because there's a little, what is it, like a little I don't want to say like a hole, but it's literally like a little vortex that he just is sucked into to be in the same universe or the same dimension. I don't understand which one it is, or I don't recognize it, but to fight the other Doctor Strange. And that was a really cool sequence too, just because he just dropped to the floor and then it was just shadowy and just really eerie, and it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then I do also love, I mean, I guess this is kind of jumping ahead, but the after sequence, like whenever he does choose to
after he's
save
already
Christine,
swallowed.
I think that that was like the true Doctor Strange that I was expecting to see after the consumption of all of these different powers and different
we see kind of this
energies.
Disgusting Frankenstein monster of different
Literally.
parts of all the creatures.
Ugh.
Scares Christine half to death.
Yes. Oh, well, yeah.
Or I guess to death. Straight up, full to death.
Yeah, she died.
She died. And the universe is closing in on itself. And this is something that we haven't talked about yet, but Uatu, the Watcher, we've seen him in the background
Oh my gosh.
of all these other episodes, but finally we get kind of a third wall break here because
Yeah.
Doctor Strange, of course, sees all and can sense a whole lot of other stuff outside
Right.
of our dimension and time.
And he senses him even as he begins his his dark magic journey.
Yeah,
Like,
as
there's
Uatu is talking to us, the viewers on Disney Plus.
it's so crazy. He mentions that even though I see it, I can't do nothing about it.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, but this sucks. And,
And
then
then-
Doctor Strange is like, huh? Hello?
Yeah, and
Hello?
at the end, he has a straight up conversation with Uatu.
Wild.
And Uatu says, I can't do anything. You know why I can't
He
do
basically
anything.
says, you made your bed, now lie in it.
Yeah, it's very dark. I mean, this whole episode is pretty dark and moody and kind of a tough watch. I mean, we even see one of the ways that Christine dies inevitably is she gets shot, by a robber.
Yes.
And constant car accidents. My gosh, the amount of car accidents that are happening
Awful.
to Doctor Strange, it's wild. But it is a whole lot of new stuff for us to think about for the MCU. This idea of absolute points, the idea that Doctor Strange can change that point, and who knows, maybe Wanda has the power. It seems like
bad
she's
way.
incredibly powerful, and of course Kang the Conqueror.
Or it seems that Wanda's like absorbing that power right now just because of where WandaVision left us hanging.
Yeah.
She's learning it right now.
And there's also this idea that Doctor Strange is still alive because as the universe is swallowed up whole, there is this tiny little dust speck that he's still inside of by himself.
And apologizing over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, we can see this. We know that the human side of Stephen Strange can definitely be enveloped by this kind of grief and this idea that he has this power to turn back time. So why not bring back someone from time? But what do you think about the whole idea of a paradox. I feel like because we're talking a lot about time travel now in the MCU and different dimensions and multiverses, that a paradox is bound to happen somewhere. Like it's going to contradict itself in some way,
it's
right?
inevitable for sure. I mean, and I think that we may even get a glimpse of that in Spidey or
For sure.
or in Doctor Strange. Like hello, like we've already mentioned it, but yeah, I think it's going to be inevitable from here on out. I mean, because the MCU is, I mean, it's just expanding to that point.
Yeah, they're making like all of these things, and at some
100%.
point, one thing is going to contradict something that's already been done.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, like another character who.
And I think that this is where these series really come into play because they are perfect for transitioning the viewers and I mean just the Marvel fans in general to these ideas. And it's like, oh damn, like I didn't even think about that, but all right, I'll just go with it.
What do you think some other absolute points are? So the absolute point here is the fact that he goes and gets his powers, which I guess is really important because he's able to fight back Dormammu and save the universe
Across the MCU?
Yeah, like across. What are some other? Because I mean, this idea that there's an absolute point for Doctor Strange, there's got to be a ton of them for everyone else and everywhere else, right?
I think Iron Man was back whenever the explosion happened and he was taken and he had to make his suit
in
and
hostage.
everything.
Yeah, that would be a big one.
I think. I mean, and I think that a lot of them are going to be found in those original MCU movies.
Yeah.
But then I also think, like for instance, another most recent one is going to be Cap.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
I think Iron Man passing for sure. Spoiler alert, in case you don't know.
Yeah.
And then probably Vision. You know,
Yeah.
R.I.P. A lot of death.
Although, yeah, I would say Vision has gone away and come back like 12 times
Yes,
already.
yeah,
so I
yeah.
guess he can always reinvent himself. He's just a computer.
But-
He's just a USB.
But I mean, right? He has to
Just
be
plug
saved.
him in.
He has
He's
to
on
be
the
saved
cloud.
somewhere.
Save him to the
yeah.
cloud.
Where is he at? But no, I think definitely because of where our characters are now in our minds, or from what we've seen. Yeah, I think a lot of those are going to be from their own movies.
Yeah. Do you think that they're going to ever talk about absolute points
Like Ragnarok
again?
That would for sure be a thing.
Like in the future of MCU? Is this something that we should? I mean, a lot of it's predictive,
Yeah.
but do you think this is something we have to get used to? The idea that like there are certain points that
you
won't
can't change.
Because we've seen a lot
Yes
change.
and-
Like Thanos is part of the
and
Ravagers.
no. Yeah, I was
and-
about to
yeah.
say yes and no because I mean, for instance, there was 2 snaps. You know, there's not just one snap.
Yeah,
Like there's one.
yeah.
There was the first one, and then you know,
That seems like a pretty big moment.
everyone was like, just kidding. So I mean, I feel like some things can be undone, but when it comes to absolute points, like that completely shift the characters.
Yeah, save the I guess universe. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't save our universe.
Yeah.
That's another thing to consider with these absolute points.
That's true.
Like,
This is just-
it's an absolute point of what I'm assuming is just one version of
yeah.
these characters because of What If and like the
Yeah.
ideas that they're now putting
I guess
inside of our
things
heads.
surrounding Doctor Strange makes sense because he is able to protect an entire universe.
And you know what? I think that killing King, I guess, would probably be an absolute point because
Yep.
now that's going to change everything from here on out. Like, just I'm thinking about the Loki series now
Yeah.
and just what we've seen. But like across the board, yeah, no,
Yeah.
there's for sure absolute points. But again, it's just based on this one universe
Yeah.
that we're introduced to. It just depends.
It's wild because I feel like they are writing some of these rules as the episodes go on for What If. Even the fact that Doctor Strange can see Uatu
Yeah.
is a big deal because he's not just he's an active participant in
Yeah.
this last episode more than he was the other ones. Even though technically he can't be an active participant, he just watches.
Yeah.
But he's in this episode,
Yeah.
which is kind of insane to see. But I'm really excited. Well, are there anything else from this episode that really stood out to you that you're kind of excited for or want to talk about? I mean, this is really just a Doctor Strange episode. I will say, one of the bright spots, Wong is cool as hell in this. I think that,
I think he's really understanding just because he knows Steven.
Yeah.
And he knows like, oh, you know what? I could definitely see a version
Yeah.
of you doing this.
He's,
like
he's so
I get it.
nonchalant and dry and used to all of the madness already. Like even when he's disappearing into the void, he's kind of like, oh boy, like good
He even
luck.
wishes him good luck. Yeah.
Yeah, but casts like a protection spell on him. Interesting. Wong is in Shang-Chi too. We see him in some of the
Yes,
trailers.
yes,
so
we do.
It seems like he might just travel different universe. And you know what? He's in the
He's in
Spider-Man
Spidey
trailer too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jeez, Wong. Who knows? I was texting the guys and I was
Get
like,
that money.
Doctor Strange seems to be like the Iron Man of this next phase because it's about multiverses.
I love Doctor Strange, and I mean, I think is there a pod where we ranked our favorite?
No.
MCU movies?
No.
Are you sure?
No, yeah. Oh, here's mine. Okay,
Maybe
ready?
like
Ready for mine?
maybe a Patreon one.
Are you ready for mine? Everyone's tied at number one.
Oh my god.
Everyone.
Whatever.
Big and small, bad guy, good guy, all number one for me.
I swear there was like one of our
Maybe but
it
we'd have
was
to go far back.
Maybe it was right after we watched the Doctor Strange movie,
You know,
like years
yeah.
ago. Because I think I've said this before somewhere, but Doctor Strange is definitely on like my top 3
Yeah.
MCU movies and characters, just because I love it.
Yeah, the movie
I love
was
him.
spectacular. He is he gets to deal with the mystical
We got a
side of MCU,
We
which
got
is
a first release
great.
to that, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm I don't know. I'm always excited, and he's got the biggest movie. I know we're all crazy about the Spider-Man thing, but the Multiverse of Madness confirmed Loki, or not? I don't know if it's confirmed, but Loki is in it. Wanda is in it. Everyone's in
It's
this
gonna be
movie.
fucking nuts.
It's gonna be madness, literally multiverse of madness. But yeah, did you have a favorite like creature, mystical creature? I don't know their names, but I guess you can just say like bug or squid.
There was one that looked like I don't know if it was like a two-headed dragon.
There's a
or
two-headed
like a
goat,
two-headed that one.
which was
yes,
wild.
And I think that's when it was really leading into like the creepier versions, because these montages were becoming very like flat, like
Yeah.
flash, just in my face, and
Yeah.
that was really it was really intimidating, and I didn't like it. Like it made me like cringe almost.
Yeah.
Like it was really weird.
I
to
texted
look
John.
at.
It reminds me of there's a DC Dark, Justice League Dark, which is Constantine.
dare you.
And Batman. No, but they're dealing with demons and stuff like that, and this it reminded me a lot of that, which is honestly surprising for Marvel, because Marvel normally makes like the fun, comedy driven,
Right,
real colorful,
lighthearted,
lighthearted stuff. Do you
Yeah.
think that there's an appetite for straight up horror in a Marvel thing or a Marvel movie even?
We talked about this when watching, was it WandaVision or Loki? I don't remember. But there is like a darker version of like the multiverse little highway that I forget what we called it, or what we looked it up in the comics before. But yeah, I don't know about like true horror, like jump scare horror, but I do think that like gory
Yeah.
and like that type
Marvel
of like
zombies,
mind
yeah.
fuck of horror, like suspense thriller,
Yeah.
gore type, like
We're
that
gonna
I can.
see.
What?
I was saying, confirmed Mahershala Ali is Blade, and you can't do Blade without.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Like,
Like that
vampires.
type. Exactly. Like that type of vibe. I feel like that's for sure going to lead up to something. Whether or not Disney will allow it past a certain point
Yeah.
is what I'm worried about, just because it's Disney.
Yeah.
Like but now it's Disney Fox. So like maybe they're going to lean
Do it,
more
yeah.
into that that
Yeah.
variety.
I mean, I have a sense that now that there is a multiverse, and even this episode is a step in that direction. There are superhero. Moon Knight, Oscar Isaacs is in Moon Knight. That's kind of a dark, twisty, side of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have to see. But I'm really excited for it, because at least it's something that's fairly unique. And
It's going to feel new.
It's gonna feel new.
Mm-hmm.
And again, we may have to start warning kids not to watch these movies if they're too spooky.
This could honestly be like the tipping point right here. It's
Yeah.
just like, okay, here we go. We're just now leaning into
this
it. We're
is border-
creeping into it.
If you're like a little kid, you might get
Oh,
nightmares from this
is
episode.
for sure gonna scare kids.
This might be a
if they're
nightmare
watching it.
episode for you. Just because it's a cartoon, it doesn't mean it's not a.
And just his face, the face that he makes, like how lit it was, and like
Yeah.
the absorption. Oh my gosh, I was like, what, Stephen?
It's honestly really, really cool.
I mean, it's cool for us, but I could totally see kids getting.
I just
scared.
watched Trece on Netflix, which is that Filipino. She's kind of like a Constantine type character.
It's
and
an anime.
It's an anime. It's. I mean,
That's
I
what
was
I'm
all
saying.
for it. It was
This
good.
reminded me of like anime
Spooky,
stuff.
spooky.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think about this episode or what you're most excited for. But we'll be back next week for Shang-Chi. I'm really excited. But before that, Sophia, what do you have to plug?
Just the same old stuff, like always. Thank you so much for listening to the pod. Please feel free to go and check out anything else under the Dolphin Pod Network. And then if you want to support us even further, you sure can. Just go to patreon.com/dolphinpod, DELFINPOD. And then, of course, you can always check out anything that we post on our social medias. Check out our Facebook page, Oh, and then also if you want to follow me on any social medias, you sure can. Everything's going to be at _Sophia simply Sophie, Sofiee.
Yeah, I second everything. Definitely go to patreon.com/delphinpod for exclusive content and honestly soon video content on patreon.com, which will be really exciting. There's actually already a ton of video stuff on there. But you can also rate and review the pod. We haven't asked for that in a long time, but on iTunes, on Stitcher, anywhere you can, it goes a long way. Share it with all of your friends. We are going to be back next week for 2 Shang-Chi episodes. Again, a spoiler-free version for everyone who watched it over the weekend or who is waiting to watch it later on. And then later in the week, a really long spoiler full episode with John and Andrew. That'll be exciting. We're already planning on breaking down a bunch of stuff. We don't even know what's in it. So
it's just predictions.
Yeah, but I do know
what?
That if you want some clean-shaven body,
you
can go to manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping using the code DelphinPod, DELFINPOD. 20% off and free shipping, but we'll see you next week. What a big Marvel month, honestly.
Marvel month, watching What If Wednesdays.
Okay.
Man.
All right, I'm going to have to absorb some mystical creatures right now so I can
deal with
have enough energy. Yeah, to deal with you. So I can cast a spell. Can Wong cast a protection spell on me, please?
On my heart.
Please, on my heart. Hey, well, I have a really dark joke. I'm not going to say it. All right, bye, everyone.